It has been 3 months since my last upload. Maybe 4 when I upload this video. And I think my 10-minute-ish time-lapse can justify my absence for what I've been doing all of that time. On my journey to make my very own 3D character so far, I've been going through designing for direction, sculpting to catch its shape, and redone the topology for easier performance. Also when it is ready to finally be animated. Except that won't be possible, at least not after giving the model a skeleton. So what I'm talking about is that I need a way for the many points of the model that it consists of to follow a group of bones so that we can move it all together and make it so our character looks like it's moving and expressing itself. Cause right now it is just a statue and you can only do so much with it. Now I was eager to get started, but I really wanted a proper rig that came with all kinds of features like switchable IK and FK and such. And my rigging skills at the time were mediocre, so I went and decided on finding a full course on rigging. And I eventually ran into a fine tutorial called The Art of Effective Rigging, where I would spend the first months practicing and following along for hours worth of content. And I can with personal experience say that it all paid off. I had a more proper way of understanding rigging and its potential you could bring forth. After using my first month of completing my training, I only had to implement what I had learned from the course over to my own model, and by God it was horrible. The actual rig was coming along fine within the technical aspects, but when it came to the skinning process, that is where I realized how bad my model really was. I gave up counting how many times I had to reposition my joints, and how many times I needed to adjust the weight painting that influenced the many points of what the model consisted of, and the number of times I needed to remodel the character so it could deform properly. These were just normal problems that I could comprehend to fix, but it could not compare with when I had to rig the actual face of the model, which was going to be an essential part for the character to express itself. At that time, the rigging course I bought didn't have the advanced facial rig I was looking for, and I was aiming to have a face that was joint based and allowed more tweakability. That would give me the option to set specific poses and adjust the smallest detail, giving me more interesting faces. It was then I sought to find a rig with these things in mind I could learn from. And Blender itself had made a rig called Snow, where it had all the features I was looking for regarding the face. And they also happened to stream nearly the whole rigging process, so I sat down to break down the rig and analyze it. Now that took another good long month to figure out. For you see, the Snow rig is far from being a simple rig. The hierarchy behind the joints is enormously deep, and I would use days to understand how the rig worked and implement it onto my own model. And it would end up that my own facial rig would turn out to be a more simplified version of the Blender Snow rig. But the results were amazing. I could now understand what the character was feeling by looking at the way the eyebrow was raised and how much the mouth pulled back. The potential is vast of what I could do now, and it really got me excited to try all kinds of things in the future. Unfortunately, I was celebrating too soon. As I am writing this script, the rig is still broken in many areas. There are still a lot of things to do before it is truly ready for animation. The model is clipping it in on itself in noticeable areas, and it does not bend correctly in some areas, and adjusting the model would lead to it breaking my corrective blend shape for me to replace. Rigging can be a struggle, especially when you're just learning it, and it can be scary to learn a whole new set of skills knowing it can take a whole long while to master it. But understanding the outcome of setting it up makes one realize what a great thing it is to make something you've made and make it able to move. You will end up being able to create almost anything you can think of, and that you are not limited to only one area. But now that I have a better understanding of how rigging works, I can now make myself comfortable using scripts to make the rig for me, because I am not sure when I'm going to convince myself to use another 3 months to make the next rig. Don't try to be cool, use Rigify, if you value your free time. It is there for a reason. In case you've reached the end of my talk, I'll say thank you for following along this far. And the next video will be where I'll finally apply texturing for my character. It might even be my last video of this series. Take care.